Hello, everybody. Welcome to this edition of FRAX in Review. This week in FRAX, I am your host, DeFi Dave. I'm here with capital K and Trader's Insight. And this week, we're taking a deep dive in the FRAX community. FRAX is in the news once again, and we're going to start off right off the bat with what's on everybody's mind. FRAX going to 100% CR. Now, this has been a topic of discussion and of debate and contention on Flywheel. I have been in the camp of we should move to 100% CR, echoing the sentiments of the team and other people in the community. Well, Kiet and Sam, they've been more on the no, let's keep it under collateralized. And both points have their merits, but this proposal puts it down in stone that FRAX is moving towards 100% CR. Like it's been happening unofficially for a while, but now it's in stone, and it's actually received quite a bit of coverage by mainstream crypto sources, both accurate and inaccurate. So, guys, let's get right into it. Initial reactions. Kiet, what do you think?
Initial reaction is clearly the market wants only one thing, and it's disgusting, which is a 100% CR. I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
But after speaking with Sam in the Telegram chat, Sam K, he kind of made me realize that, yes, we will be 100% CR, but that, extra collateral would be put to use. It's not going to be just sitting idle. And my only concern now is like, how do we acquire this, excess collateral to make up that 100%? And how long is it going to take to get there?
It's laid out in the proposal. The first step is, $3 million of FRxETH purchases. The question is, like, how is that being bought? Is it being bought with FXS? Is it being bought with USDC? Is it being bought with what is being used to buy this? Sam, what are your initial thoughts on the collateral ratio?
So it seems like we're not actually closing the gap, right? In the sense of is the CR still going to be maintained at 92%? This is what I don't understand, right? So based on the FI or the proposal, I don't know if it was an FIP, but it said we should buy ETH until we have enough ETH in the treasury to cover the gap. So does that mean that we're just fixing the CR at where it is right now at 92% and then just buying ETH until it closes? Or are we actively working to like just close the CR back to 100% and then have this kind of like excess liquidity as FRxETH? Because, those are two different things, right? And it would mean two different things for the protocol. Yeah. So like one thing that I did see in the governance proposal is that he wants to, what is it called? He wants to turn off the decollateralized function, which I think will naturally bring the CR back to 100 on its own, even without any purchases. It would bring it would bring it back to 100% at some point because there would be no way to bring the CR down.
Yeah. And this is something that will gradually happen over time. It's not going to happen overnight, but over a period of time, especially if you get rid of that decollateralized function, then the CR will naturally float up and reach 100%. And echoing what Sam has said in past interviews, FRAX as a stablecoin, its goal is to be the risk-free asset of DeFi. In order to be the risk-free asset of DeFi, while also being the most capital efficient, it's to be 100% collateralized. So I'm happy to see this pass. I think it's a very important step in FRAX's evolution and development. Definitely a little bit of a crisis in identity because how the name is FRAX. It was started as a fractional reserve currency. So, it's kind of ironic at the end of the day that it's going to be 100% collateralized, but still, still going to be the most capital efficient and, AMO still working. And like Kiet, as you said, more collateral on the balance sheet to put to work. So,
what I thought was interesting is the way that Sam describes it. And maybe he's right here is that like, I always like for the past 2 years since FRAX launched, like my biggest selling point about FRAX was like, look, the primary thing that FRAX is doing is locking liquidity for like long periods of time. And so if there is a sell-off or people need to sell into like the FRAX base pool or whatever sort of LP that is supported by FRAX, it can't run away, right? Because that's part of the problem of what happened to like Iron Finance or like any of these other FRAX
Oh,
clones that
Iron
just like died out.
Finance.
Even Terra, right? So like
Mm.
when the market gets a little choppy and volatility comes and people start having questions about the stability of the peg, first thing, like from a game theory perspective, first thing that you should do if you're providing liquidity is just pull your liquidity. As you want to be first, you want to sell into the pool, and you want to get your money back before everybody else sells. And so there's this like weird prisoner's dilemma that, you know, FRAX was able to escape because of all our locked liquidity. But I think the thought that Sam was having this is that like as we get bigger, there's going to be limits on the amount of liquidity that can be locked in the curve pool. And if you think about like more and more FRAX being used in actual circulation, at some point it could get to a dangerous part where there's just there is enough FRAX to break the peg, right, or to cause some damage. And thankfully, this didn't happen now. But if you think about FRAX growing at scale in the future to like $100 billion or more, like I think a smaller portion will be in liquidity than would be in circulation elsewhere, and that becomes a risk at that point. So, yeah, good move on the FRAX team.
You know what I thought was kind of funny? Like if Maker or LUSD or any of these projects would announce that, hey, we are 100% collateralized, that would actually be very bearish. Whereas when FRAX does it, it's so bullish. That's pretty funny, huh? Is Dave muted?
Is Dave, are you muted? I think Dave, he is muted.
Yeah.
Okay, there you go. Okay.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I was going to say
Technical
another funny thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, another funny thing was how the coverage, not just for one outlet, but like for multiple outlets, was so wrong. like whether it was, we're gonna call it CoinDesk saying like FRX USD and not even spelling the FRAX ticker right, or Cointelegraph saying, oh, they did it for only regulatory reasons. Like they just need to do a little bit more digging.
Well, that's what we're here for.
They could have DM'd us.
They could have DM'd us. They could have asked us. They could have had us like copy and edit it, for them.
Yeah.
But maybe next time, guys.
For free.
It's all good. Everyone makes mistakes. Just do better in the future. All right.
Next topic.
Next topic. We have the launch of VEFPIS. Sam is euphoric in that corner. VEFPIS is the governance module for FPIS, FRAX's CPI peg stablecoin. This has been a long time coming and now has been released and is the first step towards FPI governance, which is going to be a very exciting and also breaking new ground within DeFi. Sam, can you give like a little summary for FPIS for the people at home and what your thoughts are on this?
I think it's great. Just from a like distribution standpoint, they've budgeted. Okay, so the supply up until VFPIS was launched was about 10 million FPIS. They budgeted another 5 million FPIS to be distributed over the first year. So we can make an assumption that like the minimum APR that you're going to get is like 50%, right? So that's going to be distributed out. That's like if every single FPIS is staked in existence, which is not. It's not going to be. Right now, you have 31% of the circulating FPIS locked in the VEFPIS contract, and it's still getting an APR of 207%, which is just insane. I just think like people are sleeping on it at the moment, and they just don't understand that like the yield is guaranteed at a minimum. A very like a 30% yield or even the 50% yield is like
so
guaranteed.
That's just from inflation, right?
Oh, that's just from inflation, yeah, and that's not even with any like additional excess profits from the FCR. So I think this is the most slept on product right now, just based on where other like the prices and everything else, and just I think we're going to get to the point, and we're going to talk about Napture later, where like those blog boy crypto Twitter influencers are just going to start threading. We're going to start
boy.
Yeah.
Blog boy.
Threadors. Yeah, the threadors, the blog boys and the threaders are just going to start making all these like VFPIS threads in like a month to 2 months. And it's just going to go wild. So really great rollout.
Insane alpha, honestly. Insane
alpha. Like, just a great rollout. Really nice from the team. Glad to see them producing, and Travis doing a good job. So thank you.
Shout out Travis,
Yeah, thank you.
the unsung hero.
Mhm.
Kit, what are your thoughts about FPIS?
I said many times in the show I have my reservations about it at scale, but I feel right now, as Sam said, the opportunity is here for definitely some profit. Again, we are biased.
We are
We
biased.
probably hold these coins, so
Look,
do
guys,
your
just
own
lock it up to
research.
2027. Forget about it. 2027. Goodbye. See you in 4 years.
Moonshot.
Come
Yeah.
on.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just wait on it. Yeah, no, I echo Sam's, M's, and Kit's sentiments here. This is a killer product. I'm really excited to see, a little love shown to it, because it's definitely been it felt like it was in the back burner for a bit, but then again, they were coming out with so many different products.
It's the middle
Fraxline.
child.
It's the middle child. Yeah. The middle child. It literally is the middle child.
It literally is. Yeah,
Frax,
so
I mean, if it's between the release of FRAX and the release of FrxETH, you have FPI. So quite literally the middle child. But you know what that means? It just has something to prove, and I think it can prove a lot of people in a very, exceed expectations in a very big way. So
yeah.
FPIS.
Oh yeah, just wait until the
launched.
cap. Just wait until the FPI cap gets lifted.
Mhm.
That's like the main thing people don't understand right now, is that there's a hard cap on FPI of I think it's $100 million or something like that. So like once that gets lifted and it goes to $1 billion or whatever, we're talking something totally different. So just don't sleep on it, right? Just 2027 or bust, and that's all you need to know.
That's all you need to know, folks. All right, next up, we have a governance proposal that's up for a vote. We have our friends at Vesper and their product Metronome, which is their version of DGenBox. They have a partnership and incentive strategy they have proposed with FRAX. This was authored by Zane Hoffman and Jordan Kruger. And this is basically to get FRAX in their suite of products and to incentivize it with, FXS gauge, curve gauge, all convex gauge, all that fun stuff. So Vesper has been, I have to say, I've been seeing Green Jeff, Zane Green Jeff in our group for a while. He's been a member of the FRAX community for a bit, so he isn't just some outsider. I call him a Fraximalist and is a believer, and wants to work with FRAX, and has listed this and wrote up this pretty detailed proposal on how that could happen. Guys, do you have any initial thoughts on this? It's basically a DGenBox for FRAX within the Vesper ecosystem.
Can you explain the DGenBox for everybody?
Kit, can you explain the DGenBox? I feel like you have a better idea of it than me. I don't want to budget.
Okay. Effectively, you're able to loop your position with one click by using the collateral of the recently borrowed asset, and then continuing that process all with one click.
Yeah.
Yes.
So Metronome, that's the name of it. Metronome basically has their own synthetic ETH, MS-ETH, that you can swap for FrxETH, and you can just keep on looping. It's a pretty cool product. And the main thing they want is to, match the voting power of Convex towards the MS-ETH, FrxETH pools and MUSD FraxBP pool. So, we love seeing integrations like this. We love, especially, how the team said they want to increase the use of FrxETH, increase the utility of FrxETH and FraxBP throughout the DeFi ecosystem. And, Vesper, they're definitely good partners in that regard. Sam, do you guys, or Kit, do you guys have any final thoughts on this?
Yeah, we need more projects like this. Like the looping stuff just isn't here yet. Like Drake, if you're listening, like let's get some UI builds. I know you talked to me about it one time. You showed me some screenshots from somebody else, but one click looping in Fraxlin is definitely, that would be awesome. Yeah, but if the Vesper team wants to go and build it, then good for them, and I'm fully supportive of it.
Yeah, that'd be so. I remember seeing with G Uni, they had a whole loop with DAI USDC. They had it we heard it with DeFi Cheetah, like 50x. Like just
it works.
The loop is on fire.
Actually, I think people are doing that with. I think people are doing that with FPI and borrowing FRAX, right?
Yeah. And
Yeah.
especially with a product like, FrxETH and their MSETH, we want more FrxETH. That doesn't impact the Frax's, collateral AMO,
Mhm.
anything. It literally is a net benefit only to Frax. So,
Mhm.
barring any crazy liquidation on that end, and the oracles being okay and everything of that nature. But
Mhm.
good proposal, good project. Love to see it.
Good project. You love to see it. All right, fellas. Next up on our list of things to talk about is a proposal from Nader to move the locks back to 3 years for 3x boost. So this will increase the boost from 2x to 3x. And the whole point of this is to incentivize more locked liquidity and locked tokens and assets for the Frax protocol. Guys, Sam, do you have any initial thoughts on this?
I think it's great. I mean, I don't know why we ever moved away from 3 years. I think there was
Yeah.
some, like back in 2022, in the beginning, there was some, I guess, rumblings about, hey, we should bring everything down to like a 1 year max thing. But 3 years is a really like good time to just like leave liquidity, right? Like forget about it. You don't have to worry about it, and you get locked in for bigger yields.
Yeah, it just seems like a win-win for everyone. Except what happens when people complain that, oh shit, like the yields aren't high, like, oh no, the project is like disintegrating or like not, or basically stopping, or like, oh no, like this, and like we've seen this happen multiple times, and we've seen it happen actually, right now, which we'll get into
That's about
after
to say,
this.
yeah.
It literally, like, right, this is actually quite relevant. This is quite relevant for what we're going to talk about next, and this is quite relevant towards just the health and safety and peg for Frax overall. Is like having that locked liquidity in there. Kit, what are your thoughts on this?
So I feel that Frax kind of has earned its stripes, kind of going through to that one mini bear cycle in 2021 between like May to August, and then again now going through this current bear cycle. Frax has earned its stripe that it has the staying power and that it will be here. If anything, it will be the pairs being locked up that may be questionable, but at the end of the day, Frax is gonna be here. So I think by allowing for this another option to lock up rather than just 4 or 2 or none, like it allows the market to rate itself and choose where it desires at the risk level. And I'm all for more choices for free market participants to, exert their choice in risk profiles.
Well said. Well said. So this looks likely to pass. It hasn't even been proposed yet to Snapshot, but this just makes sense. But this is relevant to our final topic of discussion, which is the implementation of the rage quit function for
Wait, do
Frax.
you want to talk about Euler first or after?
Oh, Euler. Yeah. Euler. Okay. Yeah, we can talk about Euler first. Sorry about that. I just didn't have that on my list. So yes, next up, we have a proposal from Mark 11, day one OG Fraximalist, for boosted Frax USDC pools on the Balancer Euler boosted pool, and to have a AMO, an FXS gauge, and a trial for the Balancer ecosystem bribe system. This is a pretty extensive proposal with multiple proposals in it, actually. Sam, you're much more familiar with Balancer. Can you give us, the case for the AMO? Because we were discussing it a bit before the show. I was saying, like, I'm not sure if we should do the AMO so fast. We should just do the gauge and then the AMO later. But what are your thoughts? What is this pool exactly? And like, why should there be an AMO for it?
Yeah, so I think like Balancer kind of gets like lost a little bit in the whole like AMM discussion, right? They've got some really nice products that incorporate a lot of stuff. So you may think of Balancer as the AMM, which can have like fixed amounts, right? So you can have like 10% ETH, 20% BTC, and maybe some FRAX shares or something filling up the rest of it. And those kind of hold like these like strange index funds, and you can have I think up to 8 assets on those. And that was cool and all, but the thing that really Balancer has come out with in the past year, which has really defined it, it set itself apart from both Uniswap and Curve, are these things called boosted pools. So they have some strange names like BB/ or BB-A- USD is one name. In this case, it's going to be like BBE Frax and BBE USDC.
This is worse than Convex.
I know. It's horrible.
And that was hard. That's hard to pull off, but
It's really complex. But essentially what Balancer figured out, or what they decided, was that, like, look, you have something like FRAX Pool, right? FRAX Pool is close to $500 million. And those assets, they just sit there in that one pool. They're kind of like locked there. And that capital has to be like maximized in a way where it's being maximized only in Curve. So what these BB pools do is they create a virtual pool, right? Where normally when you're trading in an AMM, especially in a stablecoin AMM, you only probably need maybe like 20 to 30% of the total liquidity, right? So inside that Curve pool, which has like $500 million, or the FRAX base pool, which has $500 million, you may only need to utilize like, I don't know, $20, $30 million at a single time, even for larger trades. And so what this means is that you have all this excess capital sitting in those pools, which is underutilized. And so these BB pools create the idea of virtual liquidity, where they can virtualize how the AMM would trade as if it was fully funded on both sides by whatever assets they choose. And that allows them to then take a portion of those assets out and then deposit them into like lending markets like Aave or other places and earn
can
a
they
yield.
deposit in FraxLend?
Yeah, or deposit in FrxETH, right? Yeah, I mean, you can do anything really with it.
So this sounds like Bento Box, or like what Bento Box is supposed to do.
Yeah, kind of.
Like,
think about it as like
take idle liquidity and go give it lending to Kashi.
Yeah. You idle liquidity and they go put it in Aave or Compound or something. And they put it in really safe places where it's not going to get rough. And then people can trade back and forth with those pools. And then the LPs are making an additional boosted yield on top of that. So the idea for this proposal is threefold, right? So the first one is to create an AMO for this new two pool, where it's going to be FRAX and USDC. So it's essentially just like funding a new LP. And, FRAX has a bunch of those, right? FRAX puts FRAX and USDC in a bunch of LPs on a bunch of different networks. This would authorize up to $12 million for this LP. And I think that's pretty cool because, those funds will get reinvested. FRAX will be earning more money on that. And it just works out great. The FXS gauge, is it probably going to pass? That's a no-brainer, right?
That's a no-brainer.
Yeah.
The only one that the interest. Yeah, go ahead.
Go
ahead. Sorry.
No. You go ahead, and I'll finish up.
I was going to look up what is the current interest rate for FRAX on Euler. What is the interest rate on Euler right now?
Is it Euler?
It's Euler. Yes, everyone gets it wrong, but it's Euler. Right now, the supply APY is 0.74%, and the borrow APY, and to borrow it on Euler, it's 4.78%. FXS is actually quite nice. The supply APY is 4%. And there's FPIS on here, but there's not much. But there's not much activity going on there. So it's not that high. So I wonder if I wonder what they can do to improve that, but we'll see.
Yeah. The only thing that I could see being contentious would be this authorizing $100,000 worth of FRAX shares or CVX CRV bribes for a pilot bribe program. Maybe like the CVX bribes are okay, because we don't actually have to take any FRAX shares away from any of the gauges or anything. And so you would direct 100,000 worth of these CVX bribes towards the two pool over a 3-month period. So that they could like bootstrap liquidity into that pool and then get everybody to like lock it up in the gauge during that time. So like offering high yields at first, and then it kind of gets pulled out once the liquidity has been filled up. Yeah, hook them in, get them locked into the gauge, and then eventually, FRAX and USDC is not going to have any issues, right? But you get locked into a gauge, and then we get into problems like our last topic that we're going to discuss. But based on what I told you guys, does that make a bit more sense about how?
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah. And the thing, Balancer and Euler are two very high quality protocols. Balancer's been around since the beginning of DeFi. Euler has been around, the more recent newcomer to DeFi, but it's definitely made a name for itself. And I'm familiar, I'm friends with the Euler team and big fan of what they're doing there. And, it's cool. I'm I'm curious to see what Euler does off topic, like with their Euler. They've been saying this Euler AMM. They've been kind of teasing and talking about that on Twitter. So I'm curious what kind of math is behind that. But yeah, I support this proposal, like all these proposals. But I imagine like FX8 gauge get approved first, then maybe a little bit later the AMO, and then after And I would agree with you, Sam. Like the bribe program's the only one. Like, does FRAX have the resources to invest in that, or like want to invest in that? To say,
this is interesting, right? So we're starting to see a trend, and I wrote about this today in the newsletter that went out. We're starting to see a trend of proposals asking for CVX bribes or for convex curve bribes from FRAX in order to bootstrap liquidity. So no longer are they asking for, so the AMO is one part, right? But I think as we evolve, these bribes, or at least like the bootstrapping bribes, whatever you want to call it, are going to become a bigger part of FRAX's role in the entire kind of DeFi ecosystem, Ethereum ecosystem, right? Because if I'm creating a project, and especially when we get to Eigenlayer, which I wrote about today, any project that's launching on Eigenlayer can come to FRAX and say, like, give me FrxETH security for the validators, and give me a gauge, and give me CVX bribes, and we're going to give you, 3% of the token supply or something like that, right? And that could really, like, you bootstrap liquidity, you bootstrap security, and you bootstrap, just your entire ecosystem through the FRAX protocol from just a couple months worth of bribes, maybe like 6 months worth of bribes, whatever, right? And I think that's going to be really powerful. This is the second proposal that we've seen that formally has asked for this. There was one before this that talked about having a 3-month system as well too. And I think we're only going to see more of it because those CVX bribes are really powerful, and it really is a good way to bootstrap.
Are you talking about for Balancer Euler? Are you talking about for
no, there was another FIP
Vesper.
Was it the Vesper one?
Yeah, Vesper literally asked for the CVX.
Yeah.
Okay. I just
so
want to make sure.
If you think about, like, this is like a new meta coming for proposals.
The new meta, I agree.
The new meta for proposals. Yeah. New meta for proposals, where those CVX bribes are powerful, man. And maybe this is something where like the Wi-Fi comes in as well too. Like one of the big things that I know, like one of the big things that I really want to see that actually hasn't happened yet. This is my own personal thing, and maybe you guys we can talk about this actually, because this is another big topic as well. Is the Yearn Finance announced the coming of an LSD aggregator that is just backed by everything that Yearn has, right? And so Yearn actually has twice the amount of CRV that FRAX has. They have 55 million CRV compared to FRAX's 20 million. So their incentives for this YLSD token, whatever they call it, are going to be huge, right? And you pair both FRAX and Wi-Fi together, could be doing some great stuff. And so one of the things that I've always thought about and have been proposing kind of like off and on since last year is that, like, FRAX should go out and make it a point to acquire a large amount of Wi-Fi so that they can, like, lock it up in the VE system and then use it to vote for, like, I don't know, their FRAX pools or whatever other pools that they're doing, because, like, Wi-Fi is a part of the FRAX
convex, effectively.
Maybe
they can do a token swap. I don't see a purchase happening, but like maybe a token swap.
No, I think we'd have to go out in the open market and purchase it, because, like, who are we going to buy it for? I mean, everything's already out. There is no, I mean, they have a small treasury, but it's not like.
Oh, true.
We would just have to go buy it. But you look at the AMOs, right?
What's the supply of Wi-Fi?
30,000.
Curious.
30,000. Oh, no, sorry, 36,000 now. I think they minted
36 or 33. Like they increased a bit more just to assuage the people. But yeah, no, Sam, I think you are spot on. I think you are spot on that this new trend of, like, FRAX needing to go out and get some Wi-Fi and lock it up, just like how we did with CVX, because CVX is running out of CVX to kind of give out. But for us to get even more boost and more control power, we have to go after Wi-Fi. And that's definitely the move here.
You know what we could do is, and this might be something to bring up in the governance forums after this, is that we could use the $18 million that FRAX has that they had purposed for FRAX shares buybacks and just move that into Wi-Fi buybacks.
Purchasing Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because the like, there's no reason. Okay. So at the when we were in the shit last year, the Terra was collapsing. Everything looked horrible. That $20 million buyback that FRAX announced was just, it shored up investor confidence across the board. It showed that the protocol was strong. It had extra money to provide to back up the FRAX shares market. And it really, that was like the turning point. If I had to signal like
that was the last stand.
Yeah, it really was. It was the turning point of last year. But now we have this like $18 million worth of FRAX, which we've authorized, which at $12 or $11 where we are, I mean, do we really need to have that when the fundamentals have started to turn around again? We're not really like on the decline anymore. And we have the addition of FrxETH, which looks like it's going to provide a ton of income over the next couple of years. So maybe we could take that $18 million and then use that to acquire Wi-Fi.
How much Wi-Fi would we need to have a, solid amount of influence in their governance?
I don't know. That's a good question. This is something that we need to put more analysis into. But right now there is, I think like Wi-Fi is almost $10,000. So like in theory, we could acquire like 1,800 Wi-Fi, right? With that 18 million. And that's significant. I mean, that's almost like 10% of the supply of that's like 5% of the
that's
supply.
That's 5%. Yeah.
Yeah. That's huge.
Well, I think the also critical point here is, the whole CR proposal passed, right? And we need to look for more collateral to put into the AMO.
Mm-hmm.
So I think adding a, VE Wi-Fi into the AMO is a very clear, the investor AMO to be specific, just like how we have it with VLCVX makes a ton of sense. So taxing on top of the FrxETH proposal, to instead of just buying 3 mil of FrxETH, maybe we buy 3 mil of FrxETH and like 1.5 mil of Wi-Fi or something like that. And then we slowly stack it over time with, profits from all the other AMOs, as well as this $18 million sandbag that we have.
Does VE Wi-Fi work the same as the other VE systems? Like, does it work similar to FXS where, they buy FXS on the open market and they distribute it back to FXS holders? Like, how is profit distributed to VE Wi-Fi stakers? Do you guys know?
Yeah, I think so. But their boost is bigger. You can get up to a 10x boost with Wi-Fi.
A 10x boost.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, yeah, I think it's that, and like, Wi-Fi is one like the goat of yield aggregators, right?
Are they the first one? Are they OG?
They're the first one.
Yeah. They're the OG. Yeah.
They're the OG.
Dude, guys, it's funny when I saw that LSD announcement that Wi-Fi was going to come in, and I was like, Wi-Fi is a yield aggregator. The best yielding LSD is FrxETH. So does this mean it's just another FrxETH vacuum that they just created and they're just going to plow it into FrxETH? Because where else are they going to go? Like, it's magnitudely different. Like, the closest competitor is stake-wise at 5%. We're 50% better than the closest competitor. So it's like, there's only one place to go.
There are buybacks. So it does incorporate buybacks with the VE model. So that does happen. And so, I think it would be a good asset to add to the treasury and to the collateral would be Wi-Fi.
And how much more bullish is Napgener going to get if we come out and have a Wi-Fi buyback program? Mm-hmm. He's already taken it to another level. Like, honestly, like, I think, Napgener, like, again, we're talking about it every single time, but really he's hitting stride in bull posting for FRAX. And,
it's true.
Please continue.
I do need to point this out. So in TradFi, normally when you kind of use your stock to buy another company's stock, you are effectively saying that, you think your stock is overvalued relative to this other projects.
Yeah.
So there's also that perception. And we should be ready for folks kind of slamming in and saying that, right? Like, hey, if FRAX is not valuing its own token so highly, why should we even hold it or buy it? Right? We should buy Wi-Fi instead.
But in TradFi, the stocks don't have the same utility as the
No,
tokens of
correct,
DeFi.
correct.
So I
Right,
think
but
it's a little bit
but it
different.
takes
But it makes
education.
yes, but I didn't realize that, and that is something good to take into account.
Yeah, no, it definitely takes into, because it's all about the perception, right? Like the perception of security is why we went to, 100% CR. In addition to all the great things
All
that
the
Sam K had mentioned, but like in reality, it's like, hey, FRAX stablecoin is backed by DeFi, it's under collateralized, but it's actually across all of these different AMOs. That is a 5-minute explanation versus, yeah, FRAX is 100% collateralized. A 5-second explanation. So I could see the benefit of going 100% QR, but that's just a perception of security.
Yeah.
Yeah, understandable.
Yeah, optics.
Well,
Okay.
well, guys, on our final topic of discussion, unless anybody have any other words to say about Wi-Fi, when Tokyo soon, everyone.
Yeah.
Next, last but not least, we have the FIP 187, which is the implementation of the rage quit function for MUSD FRAX, and this will not pass. You shall not pass. We talked about this last week. Kit made some really good points saying as long as you're able to redeem your MUSD for 100% of what it's worth, then there should be no reason for it unless there was like a bug or it was critically endangered. So this isn't going to pass. Yeah, people are upset about it, understandably, but that's the risk you take when you lock up for a long time. It's that tough love. So Kit, thoughts?
Not only is it the risk you took, but also the rewards that you had reaped, right? At that point in time in which you made that decision, the APY plus the boost was enough to, from your risk calculation, warrant you to make that decision. And now that it didn't play out, you're basically asking for a bailout. And I just feel like you're going to be made whole at the end. It's not that you're going to lose money. You just won't be making as much as what you had hoped for, which is part of the game, and I think you just got to own the mistake and move on.
Yeah, and at least it's stable coins, at least it isn't a volatile asset.
Yeah,
True.
True.
Sam, any thoughts on this matter?
Yeah, I'm agreeing with you guys. Like, if they can unwrap to stables, 2 years in the future, like what's the difference, right? Like, you took the risk, you locked it up. Like, you still have voting power. You can always vote for the gauge, even though it may not be working and nobody's using it, right? So,
yeah, true.
Yeah, no, it's just what it is.
So true. It is what it is. That's just how the game is played.
Yeah, I thought it was the butterfly. That was the first rage quit, right?
I know. Was it butterfly? No. It was the temple
redacted?
people.
Temple,
they reached.
Yeah, I didn't really like that one. It didn't sit well with me to allow that one in the first place. I thought it was bad precedent, and like even the stuff that Temple was going through, I just didn't think that like it was necessary. So.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we're making a stand here as a community, so
yeah.
You gotta love to see it. Yep. And any other things on your mind this week in FRAX? I think we've covered all the big points.
Oh yeah, the content this week was really great, guys. Like DeFi Cheetah, it's like, nice. if you want to get some like bull posting for Curve, like go listen to.
If you want some hopium, if you want some Curve hopium straight to the veins, go get some DeFi Cheetah right now. It's very potent.
Yeah.
That DeFi
perfect, Sam.
Cheetah.
I was about to plug us, but I'm glad you did. So yes, that was the other thing that you FRAX in review. You got to go check out that pod.
Yeah,
it was.
And if you want to make sure you don't miss a single interview, a single FRAX check, a single FRAX in review, a single bit of anything Flywheel, hit that bell button right now, dude. Right now, don't forget, don't wait. Subscribe to us. Make sure you give us a like. Let us know what you think in the comments. Make sure you subscribe to our newsletter. We've been pumping out content. We've been giving you that alpha. We've been really pushing forward that initiative, and definitely subscribe down there at flywheeloutput.com. Make sure you follow us on our socials, Flywheel DeFi on Twitter, Flywheel DeFi on Telegram. Join the conversation. You can find me on Twitter at DeFi Dave 22.
You can find me at 0xcapital_K.
And I'm at traders_inside.
And we'll see you next week.
Peace.